back! Get back! Ray! Ray! Mr. Harryhausen! Just move him a little bit! Move him away! Move him away from the whiskey! Hey folks! And there you go! That's how easy it is to make a Ray Harryhausen movie. Of course not. Let's get all the special effects out of the way. It's painstaking work, you know. Minute by minute, frame by frame. It's minute movements. Hey folks, how are you? Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your swashbuckling and seafaring services. Ray, I asked for the whiskey. Oh, thank you. There ain't no stop motion involved here. Although after I finish this bottle, there'll be plenty of stop motion taking place, moving very slowly. Cheers y'all. Very cheap plonk this time. Needs must. How are you all? Hope you're doing very, very well. Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. Now, I've been discussing quite a few fantasy adventure movies, sword and sorcery, sword and sandal, mighty brawn, just pure adventure, thrills and spills. And today is no exception, because today I'm going to discuss the second entry in the Ray Harryhausen, Charles H. Schneer, very loose trilogy of Sinbad movies based on the Arabian Nights saga, with their legendary seafaring super warrior Sinbad, played by a different guy in each of the three movies. The first one, Kevin Matthews in 1958, in the greatest of all the Sinbad movies, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, directed by Nathan Duran, and a wonderful movie, perfect in every single way. This one, I'll come on to in a minute, in 74, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and then in 1977 we get the final chapter, the final instalment, and sadly a lacklustre instalment as well. They kind of went out on a bit of a low ebb, really, a low tide. And the Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, it's great, we have a lot of fun with it. I did discuss it in depth only the other day, please do check it out. But we're going to go to the middle instalment now, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, made in 1973, released in 74, because it took a lengthy year of post-production, with poor Ray sitting alone in a room, moving centaurs and griffins and all sorts of other homunculus and whatever, painstakingly, frame by frame, second by second, minute by minute. Oh, can you imagine it? You know, the sad thing is that he told Tom Baker, who is the villain in this movie, the evil wizard Cora, and he's one of the major selling points of this film. He told Tom Baker many years later that he gave it up really because he got sick of being so alone in the room all the time. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why the whole thing was given up, because Dynamation, or Dynarama as it was sometimes called as well, the whole stop motion animation special effect ethic became very outdated. You know, Star Wars, Eye of the Tiger came out when Star Wars came out in 1977 and it was dwarfed by it. That's what any effects movie or adventure movie was going to be completely swamped by that story set in a galaxy far, far away. So, you know, a lot of things contributed to Ray Harryhausen stepping down from the mantle as one of the greatest cinematic fantasists that we've ever known, and a true influence and inspiration for many people. But let's go back to this middle instalment. After such a rip-roaring high with Seventh Voyage of Sinbad in 1958, it took them many years to get back to Sinbad. A few abortive attempts at other sagas, other ideas, which didn't really come to fruition. And then he finally thought, come on, let's do another Sinbad movie. And the idea was always going to be, right, look, this one is going to be set in India. Initially, it was going to be called The Eighth Voyage of Sinbad. Sounds a bit crap, doesn't it? Then Sinbad in India, which doesn't sound very good either, to be honest. And the reason why they didn't film it in India was because of, well, financial constraints, and there were other reasons. I think political reasons took place as well. So they decamped and went back to the old stamping ground of mainland Spain, Mallorca, and Malta. which with their rocky bays and coves, their canyons, their prehistoric mountains and caves and streams, it's perfect. It's literally God-given. I ain't saying which god, because these films have many gods in them. This one, completely messes around with the whole deity system as well, which is great in a way. Because when you look at these films, barring the first one, which is just pure adventure, thrills and mythology, this one and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger definitely do have a bit of forward thinking taking place as well, which I'll come on to. I discussed it with Eye of the Tiger, so we'll go in depth on this one. Now, Brian Clemens wrote this. Brian Clemens of the Avengers. Brian Clemens of Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. I love him. He has a sense of humour. He has a real quirk to what he does. And because he'd just done Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, he lobbied hard to get Caroline Munro. Yes, Caroline Munro, we still love you. We always will love you. To get her playing Margiana, the slave girl come heroine of this movie. And she got the part. And what wonderful parts they are too, that she has. In the skimpiest costume that any costumier ever created for a fantasy heroine. I mean, they really thought, look, we might not get away with this, but we'll have a go anyway. And if you do watch the film now, the lovely, lush Blu-ray transfer, keep your eyes peeled, because there are moments of wardrobe misdemeanors, wardrobe malfunctions, I think they term it as. But they're perfect little speckins and speckles for us. Speckins? I don't know what that means either, but hey, that's whiskey for you. So, Sinbad, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, what is it about? Well, there's an amulet, isn't there? There's always some MacGuffin, and we've got two pieces of it. We need the third, but Sinbad works out that two pieces together with this map in this sort of sunken temple room with the Grand Vizier, played by, hang on a second, Douglas Wilmer. The great British character actor Douglas Wilmer, who spends most of this movie behind a golden mask because his face has been burned off beforehand. It's great, it's great. Grisly, grand guignol stuff. But Sinbad works out on this wall chart. If I put the two pieces together, it points to here, Lemuria. The secret lost world of Lemuria. Lemuria figures in a lot of different sort of stories. It features maybe renamed in H. Rider Haggard's She stories and in Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World stories. It is known in these classical mythological stories and tales. Maybe it's a rival for Atlantis as well in some tales too. So it's there. The Fountain of Destiny is there. If we can get the third piece of the amulet, we can maybe return me to my former glory and bring peace and harmony to the world of Marabia. Not Arabia, Marabia. Odd. So Sinbad undertakes to go on this voyage with the Grand Vizier, who foolishly, which I always think is a strange thing, in Eye of the Tiger as well, you have Queen Zenobia, played by Margaret Whiting, who's outstanding in it. She who wants to put her son on the throne and make him the Caliph, but she will take her son and pursue into dangerous lands Sinbad. She could have stayed back there and used her magic to fortify the place and just do all things behind the scenes. No, she puts herself and her son in harm's way by going after him. Bit idiotic. So on this journey, Sinbad takes the Grand Vizier as well with him. And Sinbad here is John Philip Law. John Philip Law, who was in Danger Diabolic. He was the blind angel Payan in Barbarella. He's awesome in this role. He looks like Christian Bale. He's got these beatific, piercing blue eyes. He's got a little, totally topiaried goatee beard and bits round here, and he's got his turban on, and he looks fantastic. He does, and you can see he's having a ball. He always said he loved this role. He was very peace and love, post-hippie sort of environment, but he was an action man as well. But he was very esoteric in many ways, and he loved all the ideology behind this incarnation of Sinbad, and he really wanted to play the part again. But of course, it got to Patrick Wayne for Eye of the Tiger only a few years later. So he was a bit disgruntled by that, which is a shame because he would have been far better than Patrick Wayne, without a doubt. He invests so much character, so much awe and wonder, and a twinkle in the eye, and a recklessness and a pure heroism, which is lacking, certainly, from the Patrick Wayne version. Patrick Wayne just happens to be in action scenes alongside the rest of his crew. He doesn't actually do a great deal, to be honest. Whereas this Sinbad does save his people, save Caroline Munro, fight the good fight. He does a lot more. He's very much more like Kerwin Matthews as Sinbad, who does even more again. So again, it's this law of diminishing returns. Seventh Voyage sets the bar very high. Golden Voyage really does try, but tells a different type of story, with many of the same themes, of course. Evil magicians, land hopping, monsters, yeah. A finale with, you know, lots of stop motion craziness and chaos. But then you get Eye of the Tiger, where your hero doesn't do a great deal, really. He's just along for the ride. But it's the way it goes. They're all still great together as a trilogy. And so you've got Prince Cora, Tom Baker, the great Tom Baker, who was working as a building site labourer at the time, and yet he was also part of Laurence Olivier's production crew as well, production company. But by all accounts, especially his own, he was no great shakes. He was in Nicholas and Alexandria playing Rasputin, and that brought him a lot of attention. But he was also in the likes of Macbeth, and he on stage, and apparently it was a calamity. It ran for 58 weeks, but my God, apparently he was deplorable. But this is the guy that played the best Doctor Who, and it's because of his role here in this movie that he got the role of Doctor Who. This is what shaped him for, you know, future cult icon status. So he's Prince Cora. He also wants to get to this fountain of destiny on this distant land of Lemuria, because with that amulet together, which he wants all three pieces, if you throw them into there, you get three things. You get youth, eternal youth, you get the cloak of darkness, bit of Hogwarts in there as well, and you get a crown of untold riches upon a troubled brow. Oh, no, that's someone else. And so there's a race. They've got to get there. Sinbad, Jean-Philippe Law and his crew have taken the Grand Vizier. They've taken as well Caroline Munro, and they took her as part of a deal. When he's in town, he's already met Tom Baker's warlock, Prince Cora, because at the start of the movie, a little homunculus flies across the sky when they're at sea and drops a third of this amulet, which of course Sinbad keeps and wears. It gives him visions and dreams and nightmares of Caroline Munro belly dancing, of Tom Baker's eyes piercing Bela Lugosi style straight at him, and visions and stuff. So he knows there's some kind of destiny involved in this. So he arrives at Lemuria. He meets the Grand Vizier. He meets Tom Baker, who tries to get this thing off him, but he manages to ride away to safety, and gets told the story of this amulet, or what it can do. What happened? Why'd you wear the mask? Because Cora set fire in his rage to the place, and I was damaged, and I can never show my face again. Brilliant stuff, isn't it? You know, The Man in the Iron Mask and Phantom of the Opera. There's a lot of precedents for that sort of thing. A masked hero, a masked good guy, you know. So Sinbad encounters a couple of ruffians who turn out not to be ruffians. They just want to get this lazy, hashish imbibing son, played by, Kurt Christian, who take him with you. We want to give him adventure, make him learn life, make him learn devotion and duty. And like, Sinbad's like, I don't want to take him with me. I've got a big mission here. And Sinbad's walking proudly around town, like wearing this third of the amulet. Bit wantonly brazen, don't you think? Bit foolhardy. But that's our Sinbad for us. And he said, I'm not taking him. In walks Caroline Munro as a slave girl. And they're very buxom, wearing not very much, and those eyes, oh my God. And she has an eye, an Illuminati eye on the palm of her hand. Where did you get that from? I don't know. I was born with it. It was tattooed into me. You know. So, well, that's going to play a part at some point, I'm sure. I'll take your lazy ass son with me on this voyage if I can have her as well. Oh, of course you can have her, says this I don't know, this market salesman, trader. Of course you can have her because I like them a bit fatter, a bit more meat. This is Caroline Munro you're talking about, who has meat and lots of it, but in all the right places. And he's like, there, take her, yeah. Oh my God. What a deal! So he takes Haroun, this lazy son, played by, again I forgot his name, Kurt Christian. Kurt Christian would be the son that Queen Zenobia wants to make Caliph put on the throne in Eye of the Tiger. And he journeys with her in that fair movie. So he carries on, albeit in a different role. And this Haroun, lazy bastard, will prove his worth and be a source of comedy and a source of, yeah, look, he makes sacrifices and he learns the arts of devil-may-care, swashbucklery and adventurism. So he's great. So off they go on this journey. But Cora, with his faithful manservant Ahmed, voyages after them, and they use little homunculi. This is what dropped. A homunculi was flying through the sky and stupidly drops the amulet, which was taking to Cora, which is why Cora now hates Sinbad, because Sinbad picked it up, wore it, and learns of what's going on. So now you're my nemesis. So Cora sends forth other homunculi, a bit like this little guy, little winged bat demon things. And it's great because even though he's the bad guy, Cora has, well, with Tom Baker's performance, has a real sense of depth, character, and sympathy. He's totally not out and out evil. He may do evil things. He wants destiny. It is my destiny. I want power, I want untold riches, and, you know, all this sort of stuff. It's always stuff, isn't it? So why do these people even exist, these bad guys? I want that crown, I want this, and I will stop at nothing till I get it. Well, what do you do when you've got it? Have you actually thought ahead what you're going to do when you've got that? You know, because basically you're a twat, you want it for, you know, nefarious purposes, but no one's going to like it. You're not going to be very popular, so what's the point? What is the point? You know. But he wants it. And the thing is, he's great in the role. Those piercing eyes, his stature as well. That voice, Tom Baker's voice. He speaks a lot of incantations and what they are from various sources. He says he used some kind of Catholic mass litanies, but spoke in reverse and all that kind of stuff to make it sound mysterious and ancient Arabic and all that. But what someone has said that they are, if you translate them, they are some of the advertising slogans for cereal packets, which he's saying in a weird kind of way. But hey, it still sounds great. But a nice touch is that every time he uses black magic, every time he uses his sorcery powers, it drains him of life. So initially, after his first encounter with Sinbad and his first use of homunculi, and dropping down the city gates on the guards who are about to chase him after he's been pursuing Sinbad, his hand has withered and gone grey and old and wrinkled. And every subsequent use, he will look even more haggard. And it's a great touch. And I like that about these films, that they do show a toll on the bad guy. Seven Voyages of Sinbad, Sakura, Torrin Thatcher, well, he agonises over what he wants. He doesn't have a physical ailment, but he does suffer inwardly, I would say. In this, you definitely have Tom Baker getting older and more wizened and weaker as the film goes on, the more he uses powers. Eye of the Tiger, Queen Zenobia, trades her entire right leg for that of a seagull, with a big webbed foot and all that, because she transforms into a seagull. And she totally suffers for it. And it's great. So this pursuit across the open oceans, to the land of Lemuria. And this is where the idea of India comes in, because you have lots of Indian effigies carved into the walls. You have Kali, multiple arms, 6-armed in this case. I think in history, iconography has differing numbers of arms, but Kali under Ray Harryhausen's expertise, forms a dance, and then gains multiple swords and fights against Sinbad and his crew in a great bit of pure, dynamic, violent stop-motion animation and great live-action interplay. It's wonderfully well done. You have a figurehead comes to life on board Sinbad's ship. A wooden figurehead stands 8 feet tall and fights Sinbad's men and takes the maps that he has, which it will then swim back to Tom Baker, Prince Cora, and show him where they're going, so he knows, so he can get there ahead of them and all this kind of stuff. So it's a race, a bit like Eye of the Tiger. It's a race against time to get to the destination, to get the power before someone else does. So you can see all these things do carry certain ideas across. Ideas from Golden Voyage of Sinbad have leaked into this. Ideas from this, which was going to have a prince turning into a baboon, leaked into, of course, Eye of the Tiger, that's the basic conceit of that one. So you can see how these ideas, Harryhausen will always come up with drawings. These would be drawings. They hadn't got a story. Drawings. I want these two creatures to fight. I want a centaur and a griffin to fight. I want big, massive troglodytes with one eye. But they weren't sure what film they were going to go in. So they'd draw these pictures and design these things. Okay, well, we're at a story around that, but sometimes they wouldn't fit into that story, so they move into the next movie, and that's how it worked. But it does work. That's the beauty of these films and the joy and charm of them. That they do work. They do succeed on this just basic, childlike flights of fancy and imagination. They do get by. But Cora is just fantastic. Ahmed does get left behind at one stage. They meet the Green Men, a tribe of green-painted natives who have Kali as their statue, as their effigy. So Cora, who's about to be sacrificed, using his magic, brings it to life so that then they revere Cora. So when Sinbad arrives, Sinbad's going to be sacrificed. They end up throwing Caroline Munro because no, don't do it. And she shows the eye on her hand. So she has the eye, which marks her out as a sacrifice. So they throw her down into the pit, a bit like not the Sarlacc pit. What is it in Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi even? When the great big thing, whatever, I forget what it's called, comes out. So she's down there, and this centaur, very like Kong, the sacrificing King Kong, comes out, and it will pick her up and take her back into the caves, these glittering caves. Ted Moore did the cinematography using a lot of gelled lighting. So inside these caves, these crystal caves, are stalactites or stalagmites, which exist. It's the valley, the Anti-Valley, I think it is, in Mallorca. I've been there, I've been to them, and they are gorgeous. Didn't quite have the same gel lighting though, and didn't have a centaur, I noticed, or a griffin. So when they go in there, this lighting is fabulous, and the centaur takes her back. Of course, Sinbad and his crew then fight back against the Green Men and get down there to go and rescue her, but they all get split up down there. Sinbad will find bones of previous victims that the centaurs obviously nibbled and chewed away. But then he'll find Margiana, Caroline Munro again. Then they'll stumble upon the Fountain of Destiny. But Tom Baker, Cora, has got there already, and he's dying of old age. All the magic he's used homunculi, he's used explosives, he's used all sorts. Everything he's thrown at this mission, and he manages to just push the shards, because he's got all now the 3 pieces of the amulet. The 3rd piece was lurking within the body of Kali, which lazy bones Haroun manages. It's defeating everybody, but it's 6 arms of swords and cutlasses. No one can take it down. It's made out of bronze or whatever, but Haroun manages to push it off this ledge, and it shatters on the deck, and they find that all-important 3rd piece of the amulet. But of course, Tom Baker's got there as well, and he's pushed the things in while he's dying. And then when they get there, he has now become rejuvenated and young, invigorated, and he will fight Sinbad. But he will fight Sinbad with a cloak of invisibility. That's the Hogwarts thing, cloak of darkness, which basically makes him invisible, but you can still see the sword moving around. So if you think about it, Sinbad just got the sword's there, you're quite clearly there, but he does get illuminated in the fountain itself, which always changes colours. Sinbad, he's there, he's behind you. Manages to skewer kura kebab, and they win the day. The power is restored to all of those. The crown comes up to Sinbad, but no, I don't want the crown. I don't want these riches. So he puts it on the Grand Vizier's head. The Grand Vizier, who we've seen before, because he scared all the green men by revealing his burnt off face. Bit of a Dr. Phibes sort of face. Not a bad makeup effect actually, quite nasty, but it looks kind of translucent as well. It's kind of cool. So he shows his face, scares the green men, but they put the crown on him and he becomes again, oh, Douglas Wilmer. And noble, regal, and he will assume the powers of, you know, what he's meant to be, destiny, and bring peace to Marabia. Now, this whole thing about the Arabic sort of religion and Hinduism, you've got Kali from Hinduism, a lot of Indian effigies. That's all harks back to the original story that Brian Clemens wrote about Sinbad in India. But you've got, in this film in particular, everybody speaks with a Middle Eastern accent. They had a dialect coach. They are all doing a Middle Eastern accent. So you're trying your best to get that right. But you have the idea that the gods aren't quite as effective as they should be. The very fact that Sinbad rebels against having slaves, because I'll take Caroline Munro, Margiana, I'll take her and your son, yeah, but I definitely want her. And on board the ship he's saying, you're a slave to no one, you're free to go, you're totally free, I do not believe in slavery and all that. And I'll be sleeping in this room, oh, just get us a drink, will you? And she looks at him like that and he goes, sorry. Which is a nice little moment. He has a figurehead which comes to life under Korah's power. In Muslim belief, you do not have figureheads on ships. You don't have that kind of iconography. It doesn't happen. It's against their religion. So it's almost like Sinbad, because they clearly know this in the story. They clearly know this making the film by adopting all these sort of ideas, and they're flaunting it because Sinbad is a forward thinker. He's going against the grain. I'll free a slave. I'll have a figurehead on my boat. You know, this is the sort of thing that's going on in this movie. And I like that. I like that idea that they're taking religions and they are sort of tweaking them and playing with them, because he is a hero in many ways. He thinks beyond, you know, a completely devoted life. He goes beyond that. He thinks outside the box. So great ideas there. But again, and they undermine it as well with this line about like, well, how will we survive? Just trust in Allah, but tie up your camel first. What does that mean? Is that some kind of ancient proverb, or is it just a complete cod piss take? Either way, it works, and it gives a nice payoff at the end of the movie as well. You know, trust in Allah, but tie up your camel first. It's great. The creatures are fantastic. I love the fact that you have the purely emotionless figurehead, the purely emotionless Kali, no expression in the faces. In Eye of the Tiger, Ray Harryhausen thought, no, I want to put character into the faces, which is why he created Trog and Prince Casim, who's become the baboon. Lots of mannerism, characteristics and personality in those faces. Lots going on there in the eye work and the facial expressions. But in this film you have these two creatures which are just completely emotionless and blank, and it works because they're just aggressive, they're single-minded, and I love it. Then at the end of the film you have the centaur fighting the griffin, or griffon, as Ray Harryhausen liked to call it, a griffon, not a griffin. But these, again, there's not that much personality to the faces, and they represent good and evil. The centaur is evil and the griffin is good, and these two fight eternally at the base of the Fountain of Destiny. It's a nice idea, nice conceit, but in this film they will kill each other and both lie together, dead, at the foot of the Fountain of Destiny, which is nice as well. So they've pretty much corrupted all the religions in this movie. They've changed Hinduism, they've changed Islam, and they've changed the Fountain of Destiny as well, its whole purpose, but everything's dead around it. Well, what doesn't need to carry on, does it? It's almost like Excalibur saying that, you know, the end of the pagan days and witchcraft and the occult, sorcery, and we're going to usher in a new world of Christianity. You know, that's kind of what this film's doing in its own little way. A lot of talking there. I must wet my whistle, folks. Indulge me. So, great cast. Tom Baker is extraordinarily good in it. real quirky sense of humour to it and a savageness, but he's still very sympathetic at the same time, and I do like him. You've got Martin Shaw, pre The Professionals, superb, giving a naturalism and realism to his performance. He was fresh off Roman Polanski's Macbeth, the bloody nude-filled Macbeth telling. So he was no stranger to bygone times, and with his scruffy hair and his beard, he's great. I think he's great in it, and he does bed the movie in a sort of sense of naturalism, which the film has in spades. Even though we're dealing with, you know, occult and monsters and adventures, it's got a sense of naturalism to it. There's far less scenes where actors are superimposed against the real life background, which they didn't have the money to send them to, like in Eye of the Tiger, where it happens all too often. The Valley of Petra in Jordan, none of the real cast were there. They're just extras, hidden, masked in the background in the real shots, and they're matted in, which is it looks terrible. But in this film, they're in the real locations, and it really serves the story well to have these settings and exteriors which are so menacing and beautiful at the same time. So this flavour of the occult really works in its favour as well. It's a darker movie. Jean-Philippe Law is magnificent. He cuts a complete dash as his heroic swashbuckler, and that twinkle in his eye. There's a scene where they're stuck beneath in the air, and the oracle, played by an uncredited Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw's voice booms forth, telling them, you know, you must do this, and his keeper has turned to ash behind him as well, which is a great little touch. When he tried to awaken this thing in robes, it's just turned to ash. But Robert Shaw, who wanted to play Sinbad, in a way, he got Quint. He got an even more heroic seafaring warrior, you know, in Jaws. But folks, I'm going to run out of time. I've gone on at length. Golden Voyage of Sinbad is extraordinarily effective. Great fun. It's got a humour to it, it's got a charm to it, it's got a sense of adventure, it's got a darkness to it, and it's got Tom Baker and Caroline Munro. There you go. And it's got little homunculi, and Tom Baker's kind of cute with it. It's like a little puppy. Come on, when he creates a new one. So it's wonderful, it's a wonderful touch. Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, take it easy. Keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. Good to see you all in the blink of a homunculi.